Hey, so I don't really know what I want to say, except that I've been thinking about two video logs. One which has to do with femininity, masculine spaces, and also one which pertains more specifically to me and how I feel about my gender and how it relates to trans experience and all that crazy stuff. Um, I had a really powerful experience when I was in New York City. And I went to an art gallery opening which featured prints from Original Plumbing, and Amos Mack, the photographer for Original Plumbing, was there. And I I was with some friends of mine, and we walked into the space. And I know for me personally, like, it was the first time that I had been in a physical fucking space where everyone looked like me. Like, you walk down the street every day, and no one looks at you, and everyone looks at you and they're like, what is that? Who is that? I don't know what that is. Oh my god. And I remember talking to a friend, and they were wearing some crazy outfit or something, and they were talking to me, and they're like, I was walking down the street and everyone was looking at me, and I had that moment where I was like, wait, not everyone gets stared at when they walk down the street. So it was crazy to walk into that space and be like, I'm surrounded by similar people, and me and the friends that I was with, we stood in this middle of the room, and I wanted to like fucking cry. It was really intense, and it was kind of like, you know, I felt very visible as who I was. I felt visible as a trans person or visible as a third gender. And it really struck me. And I guess is kind of like because of the overwhelming emotional response that it had on me. I In that moment I understood everything that I was missing in my day-to-day life. I I could understand that I could understand that other people walk down the street or enter rooms or enter spaces in which they are surrounded by similar people, and I understood in that moment that I don't have this, and because of the huge response that I had, I understood just how much I was missing. So it made me think about privilege and the privilege of having binary identities, or the privilege of being a cisgendered person, which you get on when you ride on the bus or whatever, and it's not a big deal and doesn't have that huge of a response. So there was that. There was the privilege of having your gender being seen and being recognized, and also the privilege of being around people who are similarly gendered. That was the first. I didn't preface that, but it evoked two major chains of thought in me. The first was being around people who are similarly gendered. The second being that I really felt that I identified with that very strongly, which reaffirmed in me my understanding of myself as being a person who has a non binary gender. And I really realized that I identify more with being trans than I do with being male. And it took me a very long time to get to this point. But I guess I could say that I feel like a trans person who is not male identified, which makes me genderqueer. Like, I just feel trans. Like, I don't, I haven't spent my whole life being, I'm a boy, and I don't feel like if I was male, if I had a male body, that everything would be like honky dory or whatever. I just feel like a trans person, and that's kind of weird, I think. I and that I guess makes me genderqueer, and that makes my gender non-binary because I'm not female and I'm not a woman, but I'm also not a boy or a man, and I'm not male. And I don't know where I was going with that. But it was really great to be seen and to be read as that, and also being allowed the opportunity to exist in that context. And I really wish that I could go back to that spaces. I've also been talking a lot about like femininity and transmasculine spaces and how we have to work so hard to be seen as male, etc., etc., etc. I'll probably put up another video about that. But it also makes it really hard in heteronormative spaces. Like I'm hanging out with some other folks of mine, some other friends of mine, and like I don't want to be a specialized person where it's like, I can only hang out with queer people. Like I want to be friends with everyone and I want to hang out with everyone. But I feel like a lot of that really rings true. Like I feel like in order to be like I was talking about how transmasculine folks or FMs have to work really hard in order to be seen as male. Like, not only do we have to be masculine, but we have to be as masculine or more as male bodied people. And there's already a lot of pressure to be masculine or to embody certain types of masculinity by people who are already born male bodied, but there's extra pressure on people who are trans because they have to live up to that and prove that they're male. And I feel like that within groups of friends of mine who are, for the most part, heterosexual. Like, I feel that, like, because I'm so feminine or because I don't portray a very stereotypical version of masculinity, I'm not being read as male. I'm not being interacted with as male, which makes me feel dysphoric, or I feel like I have to butch it up or, act like someone that I'm not, which also makes me feel dysphoric, but overall just makes me feel very invisible. And I don't know how to navigate these situations. And it makes me want to reclude into this little queer world that I have where,